Hi everyone, it's
Hey,
Doug and Janet Newberry,
the people that sit in the truck and do Facebook Live.
and just this may be the last one in the truck for a while
Yeah.
because we're actually moving the Airstream to a place that has potential, hopeful Wi-Fi and a cellular signal.
Yeah. So right now we're borrowing HEB's Wi-Fi
HEB
in
is
Magnolia, Texas.
So it's almost like we have a radar for Wi-Fi. Here's some,
Yeah.
over here some. But
So next Monday night, we hope to be doing Facebook Live from Freedom, the Airstream.
yeah, and so we're excited about that. But I don't know what we're going to do with all the extra time. that
Right,
we're
of
gonna
driving
have.
around searching
Yeah.
for Wi-Fi.
Yeah. So anyway, tonight, Monday night, we thought we'd start off just. How did in the world did we get to offering online classes for parents when our big dream was repurposing education and possibly a school?
And it still is our big dream.
Yeah.
Repurposing education and starting a school. And so how did we get to offering parent classes or classes for families about relationships? And it's an interesting journey. I was a teacher and administrator in public school for 20 years and a teacher and a head of school in private schools for 7 years, and I helped a lot of children that struggled. I helped a lot of families with children who struggled, and I did a significant amount of research after I ended my education career in the industry of education on why some children recover from struggle and why some children get stuck in it. And it had a lot to do with relationships at home, trusting relationships, and the power and the transforming and healing power of love. And so I started a consulting company, and I helped families privately with children and their struggles and navigating their way and resolving those. And we saw so much hope that we created online classes to offer the same experiences and hope and strategies for helping children navigate struggles so that they heal and they don't get stuck. And so it's all a part of building an audience, of building a platform, of letting people know the good news that struggle isn't the S word. Struggle's just part of life, and we can navigate it well, and we can teach our children and lead our children and love our children through struggle. And we believe that if we can engage enough families in these kinds of conversations and relationships, then we're going to have an uproar for a school that does this too.
Yeah, so the school is still out there, but we felt like we really needed to start at the building blocks,
right,
and include the families as well.
Yeah, so that's how we got started offering online classes.
So
yeah.
Anyway, good. It's good for us to remind each other why that, because sometimes we can get lost in the.
We all need community, and children need community too. And their primary community is home. That's where they learn to live life in relationship. And so we have a passion for doing that because we have a passion for helping children grow up in and live a bold and beautiful life.
Yeah. So anyway, you want to head off into the question tonight?
So our title is, which bed does my child sleep in? How do we decide? And this is actually a question that we have permission to share from someone in one of our online classes. And the takeaways from these questions can be specific to this struggle in your family or specific to a different struggle and helpful all in the same.
Yeah. But anyway, these kinds of questions come up all the time in our online classes, in our Facebook, closed Facebook group that's associated with them.
Yeah, I just wanted to help with one thing real quick.
All right, so
marking out the name.
I'm not going to read the name.
Okay, there we go.
She was helping me because we did this a little bit earlier.
Yeah, as a podcast.
And I did my due diligence and went through and scratched out names so I wouldn't go over them, so I don't think I will now. But anyway, here we go. It says, "Hi, dear friends and fellow parents. I have a question and would like some advice. As my son grows, now 5 years old, and I'm learning how to parent and love him, situations arise where my heart is conflicted. How to discipline, when to give consequence, when to let them help in making a decision, etc. My son always slept in his own bed. His dad, my husband, passed away when he was only 20 months old." So you can see the struggle that just jumps off the page here. "I let him start sleeping with me a couple years ago when he was 3. Society says he needs to be sleeping in his own bed by now, but my heart says let him sleep with you. Selfishly, it fulfills a need for me too. Or is it selfish? I miss my husband dearly and just want to love my son as much as I can. I love cuddling in my bed with him and reading or praying together, then falling asleep with him. I remember being a young child and wanting to sleep with my parents, but it wasn't allowed. At least I had a sister. He only has me. So what is right and wrong here? Thank you all so much." This is so hard because there's so many, there's added trauma to the whole situation.
You can hear the heart of this mom wanting to do what's best for her son, and just such a brave thing to come out with this question. This is the difference between transparency and vulnerability, because there's a lot of transparent ways to defend her, any choice that she makes.
Right.
She could justify and defend any choice that she makes and find an echo chamber that would agree with her. And instead, she's risking vulnerability and saying, I think I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing what feels right to me, but I'm not sure, and I want to be sure because this is my boy, and I want to love him well. And so she's vulnerably asking for help, and from in a safe place. And
she's reaching out because she does. You can read it, sincerely want to do the right thing for her child, and wants to know what is the right and what is the wrong here. And I'm not sure we're going to be able to come up with an absolute right and wrong.
It's going to be fun unpacking it, though.
Yeah.
And I do admit that in this question, two things are layered on top of each other. One is something that many parents deal with, and the struggle of what do we do when our kid wants to sleep with us in our bed? Maybe it's a single parent, maybe it's a couple. How long do we let them sleep with us? And when's a good reason to say yes, and when's a good time to say no? So there's that just typical struggle that is all about helping any child grow up, right? And then there is the trauma that's been added on top of this story, right? The trauma of losing a father when you're 20 months old, the trauma of losing a husband. And so there's two things that are going on in this circumstance, and so we get to consider both, because struggle is normal. If you watch the beginning of this Facebook Live when I talked about helping children navigate struggle, that's what all children need to do. And parents are not, their job is to help children navigate struggle, not protect children from struggle, because struggle is a part of real life. It's one of the ways we mature and we grow up. Trauma is was not part of the original story. When God created in the beginning, trauma and things that are life-threatening and life-taking were not part of the story. And so it is what we deeply desire to do, and even our job as parents as best we can, to protect our children from trauma. We say, don't touch the stove, it's hot.
Don't walk out the street.
Right. And so, but some traumas we cannot protect our children from. And so here's the opportunity now. How do we help them recover from trauma? Because therein lies the great hope, right? How do we help children recover from trauma, and how do we help them navigate struggle in a way that equips them to move forward to the grand adventure of life that this mom and his dad created him to have. And so, how do we not let the trauma, how do we not downplay it? How do we not deny it? How do we experience it and all the emotions that go with it, and still make wise decisions in raising this young son?
So the young boy now is 5 years old, and this started when he was 22 months. I believe that was correct.
20 months.
20 months. And so there's 3 years of history there, and you can see where the mom's coming from. How long should I let this go on?
Right.
And there's not a magic cutoff date for this.
No, there is no magic cutoff date, and there is no magic standard either. And she alludes to society says he should be sleeping in his bed, and that's such an interesting twist, because we can be shamed by what society says. We can say, well, the standard is this, and you're behind. And there is no such standard for this situation, whether the trauma exists or not. And here's the other thing that society also says. Society also says, let your emotions in the driver's seat. And if it feels good, do it. That's also what society says. And so we have conflicting instructions coming from our culture, and so it feels like a trap. And so how do we help this this mom, and how do we help this young boy? How do we help her parent him well? And I think to talk about emotions would be helpful, right? To talk about what do we do with the emotions, and instead of asking ourselves, is this right or is this wrong? Because often that gets cloudy. We can ask ourselves a different question. Is it love or is it fear? Right? Because love is not an emotion. When love sits in the driver's seat and we make decisions based on our identity as love, then we're going to be making decisions that help us heal and help us grow stronger and help us grow more mature. Fear is an emotion. I'm afraid, fill in the blank, right? As parents make decisions based on fear, where we may make decisions that enable our child. They may find temporary comfort and convenience in our fear-based decisions, but they don't find long-term healing. They don't find long-term health and maturity. And so when a child experiences trauma, they have a real need for comfort. And so as a mom, you're going to know, how do I comfort this? How do I comfort my son? And does he need comfort tonight? Or is this a real need, or is this a want? Is this just something he wants to do? Because here's the other problem with parenting as a single parent, is that we get exhausted meeting the demands and the wants of our children.
Every day.
And we have no reserves left to meet their real needs. And so let's think about the emotional piece of this, and the fear-based emotional piece of this, and the trauma-based emotional piece of this. Here's a somewhat of a, I don't want to use the word protocol, but another word's not coming to me right now, about emotions. This is what we don't want to do with emotions. We don't want to deny them. We don't want to hide them. We don't want to pretend they're not there. And we don't want to put them in the driver's seat of our decisions, right? Here's what we do want to do with emotions. We want to experience them. We want to let them add the texture and the richness to life, the joys and the sorrows, because you can't just numb one emotion. When you numb one emotion, you numb them all. And so we're going to miss out on life if we don't experience our emotions, but we're also going to miss out on life if we get stuck in them.
So the question for the mom may be, how can I love my son well in this? And is tonight a time where I begin to help him mature by going beyond letting go a piece of the trauma or the reason that he may be sleeping in my bed still for my comfort or for his comfort. But how do I help him, and is tonight the right time to begin pushing that a little bit?
And I think the biggest gift to this relationship is the conversations that you're going to have in deciding, especially since now he's 5, right? And to begin to say, it's okay if we don't always get this right? But here's what we're going to use to navigate our decisions. We're going to use love. We're not going to use fear. We're going to feel our emotions. We're going to name them. We're going to experience them, but we're not going to let we're going to make intentional decisions, not emotional decisions. And this is what the gift is to this little boy. This little boy gets to know his real self, right? He gets to know his real self. He gets to experience real life. He gets to experience sleeping at friend's house because he's grown up in the way of sleeping without his mom. He gets to have friends over, right? He gets to have his own relationship with the Holy Spirit on the nights that he sleeps in his own bed, and realizes that he's not alone.
Now, I don't know how many times at night, that's when you're very active in your conversation and your thoughts with God is right before you go to sleep. And so him beginning to experience that, and also the mom too, can be a very healing piece of this. To
get to experience my relationship with God, because this is true of all children, whether we're in struggle, not in struggle, in trauma or not in trauma, is that our children need us and they need God. They need the relationship with God. And we're not created to be able to meet all of their needs by ourselves, even in a marriage, even in with a mama and a daddy. They need us and they need God. And so we get to talk to them about how the Holy Spirit comforts us and communicates with us, and we get to invite them to experience that too. And so here's an important consideration. Many of these things are there's no set answer. There's no 3 steps to follow and you've done it correctly. Here's one thing that is the only blanket statement I'll give is that there's no shame. Right? There's no shame in navigating this situation. Instead, there's many opportunities to experience love, because there's many opportunities for that. There are real needs here, and love is a process of meeting needs. And so how do we talk about that our goal is to love each other well, to learn who we are in relationship with each other, to grow up in the ways of health and healing and not hiding and being vulnerable.
Imagine the beauty of the conversations in the morning between this mother and son when they talk about what their experience was that night when they were in their bed alone or not so alone, and the conversations that they'd have the next morning and how rich those could be. What a great opportunity.
And I think too that there is a great gift in this equipping, because there is the freedom to do both. There is the freedom to choose the nights that we sleep together, because that is what's good for you, and that's what's good for me, and that's what's meeting our needs. And there's the freedom that on the nights that he sleeps in his bed and I sleep in mine. And so there is a beautiful place to work towards, is the place of freedom to say yes or to say no, because that's maturity, is when we can say yes or we can say no and we're okay. Right? There's real freedom in that. And so this is such a powerful question, and we really brought it to Facebook Live tonight to engage more in conversation than to give you a pat answer. There's not a pat answer to most challenges in life, especially if they're involving recovery from trauma, especially with young children. And so I think what we're celebrating is that this young mom reached out vulnerably to a place where she trusted other people to walk alongside her and help her navigate this.
Yeah.
But do you want to close with some 3 takeaways?
Yeah, let's do the 3 takeaways. It's just, I think this is such a beautiful topic and such a great opportunity for both the mom and son in the healing.
And it's going to be a journey. It will always be a journey for them. And so it's beautiful to be able to talk about it being a journey of love instead of a journey of fear. Right?
That's
because
important.
love
That
is the
so
process
important.
of meeting needs, and love is what heals and matures us. And there is great hope even after trauma.
That takes us right into the first takeaway. You want to go ahead and read that?
To meet real needs first. And we all have real needs. Even if we hadn't experienced trauma, we all have real needs. And so as parents, especially as if you're a single parent, to think about the energy and the time and the money that we spend sometimes doing things for children that are because they just want to or because it's easier. And so just guard yourself, love yourself well, and save yourself for your resources for meeting their real needs, because that's where growing up happens.
Yeah, and wants drain capacity.
Yeah.
They just pull it out of you.
Yeah.
The second one is make intentional decisions, not emotional decisions.
Yeah, to learn to experience emotions, not hide them, not deny them, but to learn to make intentional decisions based on your identity, based on love and your values and your convictions, instead of on fear or the other emotions that are very real in the story, but don't belong in the driver's seat of your decisions.
Right, right. Third one is, when right or wrong is blurry, ask, is this fear or love?
Right.
That's really powerful.
Yes, right or wrong is going to sometimes complicate the story, and we can get hung up on trying to get this right. And when right or wrong is blurry, rely on this question instead. Am I making this decision in love, or am I making this decision in fear? Because fear will drain capacity and drain our strength, but love will build our capacity and build our strength. And it'll build maturity.
It'll always point you on the right path.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
All right.
So, big question tonight.
Yeah.
And so this question came from our online classes. You can join us too.
Yeah.
Okay.
JanetNewberry.com. There's 8 mini classes and there's 2 full-grown classes. We'd like to invite you to take a look at the website and just cruise around on there. There's some great material and some great free resources as well.
Yeah, and we all need community. So there's an online community that goes with our classes, and we would love to see you in our online At the Table discussion group. We'd also invite you to go to iTunes and find our Brave Love podcast and join us. There's a new episode that releases every Wednesday, and we have some fairly popular ones already, even though we just began. So thank you if you've already
those are a lot of fun.
in.
Those are a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you for joining us. We'll get back again next Monday night with another question.
And we'll be in the Airstream, not the truck.
That's right.
We hope. There is great hope.
Bye, folks.
Good night.
Thank you so much.